Hi dear friends, this is Robert Hatton, this is the Encourager. It's so good that you've joined me today to continue our story about Jesus as Mark described it. We're in Mark's Gospel chapter 9 and we've come to a dramatic turning point. Jesus is now taking his disciples to Jerusalem. He's actually been to Jerusalem on a number of occasions, as we see in the other Gospels. But Mark didn't report anything about these visits because I think this is the most important visit, and he wants to underline the importance of this trip to Jerusalem. We're now on to the third part of the narrative according to Mark. A narrative, part number 1 and number 2, they were about Jesus and all the people who were around him. They were about Jesus and the healing that came from the gospel and the miracles that came from the gospel. But now we're in part 3, and part 3 is about the suffering that's also part of being a Christian. Parts 1 and 2. Part 1 was about Galilee. Part 2 was about the borderlands round about Galilee, where Jesus had just been visiting to people who are heathens, who are pagans, who have a completely different worldview than the Jewish people had. Now, number 3, part 3, he's going to Jerusalem. Part 1 and 2, he was with the multitudes. Part 3, it's about his disciples. He wanted to teach his disciples. And so as they leave the northern regions around the Mount Hermon, where they've been on the Mount of Transfiguration, they're now going to Jerusalem. I think maybe 60 miles, 100 kilometers they have to walk. So it's quite a long way, and Jesus got quite a time with his disciples to teach them. So what does he teach them? He begins to tell them that they're going to Jerusalem because he's going to die there. He's going to be killed. He's going to be crucified. But wait a minute, after 3 days, he'll be raised again from the dead. Well, they didn't really understand what he was talking about. That's the third time he told them this, but they didn't understand what he was talking about. They couldn't, Peter, he'd seen that Jesus is the Messiah. Just a few days previous, when they were in Caesarea Philippi, Jesus asked them, "Who do you say that I am?" And it was Peter who said, you are the Messiah. You are the Son of God. You're the Son of the living God. And Jesus said, "Well done, Peter, but you've not thought about this yourself, This has been given to you by divine revelation. My Father in heaven has revealed to you who I am." And he knew that, but he also knew some of the Bible anyway. And he imagined Jesus being the Messiah according to the prophecies in, for instance, Daniel chapter 7. And Daniel chapter 7 shows us the Messiah coming, the Son of God, coming with glory, coming to take a dominion over nations and over peoples and over languages, and being given all authority. And he would come, and he would come and he would deliver the people from the Romans and a number of other things. He would come to lead Israel into a new blossom, a time of blossoming and time of power and prominence. But what they didn't see was the prophecies in the Old Testament, for instance, Psalm 22. And Isaiah chapter 53, which tell us that the Messiah would come as a suffering servant, and he would suffer many terrible things. And they just didn't see that. They saw Jesus as the Messiah from Daniel 7, which of course he is, but he's also the Messiah from Psalm 22 and Isaiah chapter 53. Now, in our lives, sometimes we go through difficult periods, we go through dark periods, we go through times when it seems that everything is died, and sometimes we even lose hope. I think perhaps maybe during this time, the coronavirus crisis, as it seems to be resurging, a lot of people are losing hope. Now, we just come into autumn here in Europe. the leaves are falling off the tree. They turn colour from green and they go in brown and yellow and red. And a very beautiful spectacle. But you know what happens? They die. And just a few weeks we enter winter, and these trees will be completely bare. There'll be not one leaf upon them. And it looks like everything has died. And if we didn't know that a new time, a new season would come, we would think that everything was finished. And perhaps you look at your life and you say, there's so many things died. I've lost so many things that I once had. Well, let me just encourage you. There's a new season coming. And as we go to these trees in the middle of winter, when everything seems to be dead and nothing has happened, we can actually look closely at the trees and we find that there are new buds of life starting to develop. And as soon as the sun returns, and as soon as it gets warmer, in about 6 months' time, then life bursts out. And you know something, that even if you're going through a difficult time at the moment, Jesus promised he would never ever leave us. And even if it's difficult at the moment, I want to just encourage you to just look in there. And if you really have a close look at your life, I'm sure you will discover that there are buds and there are signs that new life is coming and you will enter a new season. So please be encouraged, because God's word says in Romans chapter 8 that those who love God, that all things must serve together to good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. So have a good day and don't despair. Your encourager, Robert Hatton.